Hello everybody. Welcome to the SMUS MOOC on Universal Design, Accessibility Planning and Social Inclusion. This has been created under the Global Center of Spatial Methods for Urban Sustainability under the Technical University Berlin, funded by the German Academic Exchange Service. These modules have been curated under the aegis of the Laboratory of Inclusive Design, IIT Roorkee. I'm Aswathy Dilip. I lead ITDP in India, and it is my pleasure to join you in this module, which focuses on creating inclusive mobility through healthy streets. This module had 3 sessions. We've completed session A, which is why should we prioritize healthy streets, and session B, that looked at what are the principles of healthy streets. If you haven't done these sessions, please feel free to go over them before you dive into the session that we're going in right now, which is going to focus on how cities can implement or achieve healthy streets. This session dives into the various actions that cities should take comprehensively to implement healthy streets and discover the journey of how Indian cities have been putting these actions into practice as well. Let's dive straight into the world of creating and implementing healthy streets. How can cities achieve healthy streets? So as we dive into the implementation of streets, these are 6 very critical steps that cities must embrace. First, it's important to look at laying the foundation. Can we have the right policies and the action plans and guidelines for implementing streets? And as we then look at taking the first projects and delivering on them, one is very important to look at sourcing funds, getting a competent team on board, building the teams or our own internal team's capacity to go over and through this entire project, ensuring that we implement these projects by bringing in the voices of all the users, including our vulnerable users, and doing things together through community engagement externally as well as through interdepartmental coordination in discussion with the different other departments that will be working on our streets. And finally, monitoring our work, learning from the impacts and the feedback that we receive, and improving our work when we start doing the next round of streets. So let us dive into each of these actions and understand what they truly mean. Now, when we start working on projects, often cities start with a certain pilot project, some streets that they are aiming to improve. This is definitely a first step and a right step in the direction of transformation that we want. But embedding these actions in policies, plans, and guidelines can ensure that our cities have a longer term vision and can continuously work towards transforming the entire city. So, policies, plans, and guidelines give us the opportunity to co-create a common vision for the way we'd like our streets to be transformed in our cities. These form a very important step for initiating the necessary institutional reforms that will ensure resilience through our long journey of transforming our streets. Setting up implementation cells such as street design cell or street design committee, all of them are actions that would work in this direction. Now, cities like Chennai, Pune, and there are various other front-runner cities that have adopted progressive policies to further their vision for promoting walking and cycling. And infrastructure that works truly in our cities is only when our streets are interconnected and not in fragments. So creating a long-term city-wide network plan will help you understanding the different parts of the puzzles as you start implementing and making sure that there is a interconnected network that leads or takes our citizens to key destinations. And as designers are brought on board for different streets, street design guidelines being adopted would help these designers ensure that there is a cohesive vision for streets that are being implemented and designed across the city. Parking policies are also policies that cities are adopting to ensure that our streets are not encroached by parked vehicles as well. The next component focuses on sourcing funds. Now, planning our finances and identifying funding sources is extremely critical for the long-term success of our Healthy Streets initiative. To give you an example, Chennai, the city in Tamil Nadu, it tapped into the National Clean Air Program funds as well as the state-level road infrastructure program funds and the Nirbhaya funds to ensure that they have continuous action on transforming their streets. They ensured that these budgets were allocated on a yearly manner to make sure that the streets are continuously improved. As the World Bank also approached the city for improving mobility in the city ensured that there were investments from the World Bank that also went into the scale up of these streets. Another city that has been taking a very proactive approach towards ensuring that there is regular annual transportation budget allocated to walking, cycling and public transport is also the cities of Pune and Pimpri-Chinchwad. Now, Indian cities, they've identified which are the streets that are required to be improved through the 3-year action plan that we discussed in step 1. Now, as you have the action plans in place and when you've identified the network that you're going to be transforming, you've received or allocated budgets for the same, the next critical point is hiring a competent team of designers, which include urban designers, as well as urban planners, contractors, and project managers. Now, embracing the right design principles and details are key to ensure the long-term benefits of such urban design projects. So, the street design guidelines form the basis and the foundation for ensuring that the competent team that you've hired will now be able to deliver on the project. When designing or when identifying the teams, it is extremely important to look at the experience that these designers have had in designing streets and to check if they have incorporated all the elements that have been highlighted in the street design guidelines. Now, cities like Coimbatore, Delhi, Ahmedabad, Bangalore, many of the cities across Srinagar have been delivering on high quality streets and public spaces by hiring competent designers and local contractors. We need to prioritize the value of design in these and the designers and prepare and publish competitive RFPs for hiring the right urban designers for these projects. As we work on the projects in the first 3 steps, it's very important for us to have a competent team that works on these projects internally to ensure the success of the projects. Team members who are aligned with the vision, who are trained with necessary skills can be a backbone for the success of these projects. Now, the Bus Route Roads Department in Chennai, for example, or the non-motorized cell in Pune, appointed dedicated urban local body staff members with training to implement street design. And this enabled the city in working towards the vision that it has set for itself. So, nurturing a dedicated internal team with diverse backgrounds and conducting regular workshop site visits and training courses for them can go a long way in ensuring that your internal team has the capacity and it's competent to deliver on this project. As we are working on the projects, we need to do things differently and we need to do them together, both internally and externally. Internally, a street design project requires us to collaborate with multiple departments. While the street might be owned by the urban local body, traffic police, the electricity department, the water and the sewerage department that's focused on the utilities below, are all various departments that need to come together for the successful implementation of the project. So, liaising with the primary stakeholders and agencies required regularly through maybe setting up of non-motorized subcommittees. This is, for example, a process that Chennai and Coimbatore undertook to ensure that there was seamless interdepartmental coordination. Also, externally, these projects are projects which have a lot of interest from the local political leaders and local champions. Our citizens living on the street also have to have a say on how the streets would be transformed. So, engaging in public participation, either through campaigns such as Ragiri Days, Car-Free Sundays, or through tactical urbanism interventions, showing clearly through temporary measures of how the street can be improved, and gathering their feedback can go a long way in building champions and building support for the project right from the beginning. As we complete our projects, the projects are never complete until we finish monitoring the same, learning from what we have implemented, if there are any actions that we should improve, and putting that into practice as we go ahead with the next phase of streets. So always make it a practice in revisiting the implemented street design projects, assessing the impact, mapping the gaps and errors, and fixing them and improving them when we're implementing the next set of streets. So you can adopt an impact assessment framework. We can observe the usage of the streets and see if our design elements are being utilized appropriately. And we can also, from the impacts, really create a data-based case for scaling up streets across the entire city as well. So now let's take a look at two cities that have adopted this transformation journey. Chennai, for example, started its journey by implementing or transforming 20 streets in the city. But to ensure that this is a long process towards its end goal, the city became the first city in the country to adopt a non-motorized transport policy in 2014. Since then, the city has adopted street design guidelines, is now working towards a parking policy and creating parking management area plans. The city has been very keen to ensure that they continuously train the engineers who are working on this. They collaborated with Anna University, a respectable university in the city, to train the engineers in a structured manner. Currently, the city, from the initial 20 streets, have implemented over 150 kilometers of streets over the last decade, is looking to further expand this by another 100 kilometers, and has also adopted or created a pedestrian plaza in the city as well. The next city that we're looking at is Pimpri-Chinchwad. Here again, the city has adopted a non-motorized transport plan and is looking at revisiting its parking policy that was prepared in 2018. The city has continuously focused on building capacity of its engineers through workshops and study tours, and is currently working on the Harit Setu master plan that aims to transform the entire city into 15-minute NMT-friendly neighborhoods. The city has already initiated the implementation of the Harit Setu neighborhoods as well as we speak in 2024. Well, if you're looking for inspiration, there are 50 projects across 35 Indian cities that we at ITDP India have had the opportunity to work with the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs and the Smart Cities Mission to document through the Streets for People compendium. Please do feel free to scan the QR code and use the document for your inspiration. It is also available on itdp.in, our website, for further details. Here are the additional reference documents that we have referred to in this module number 5, and I hope you'll find these modules and these references useful as well. As we come to the end of this module, I'd like to leave you with a quote from Enrique Peñalosa, the former mayor of Bogota. Just as a fish needs to swim, a bird to fly, a deer to run, we need to walk, not in order to survive, but to be happy. Let's create healthy streets where we all can have healthy and happy lives. Next, I'd love to invite you to join the next module on building gender-friendly cities. It's been a pleasure having and working with you on this module. These modules are developed are copyright work under the aegis of Laboratory of Inclusive Design, IIT Roorkee. Once again, I'd like to thank the SMUS MOOC partners for collaborating and giving ITDP an opportunity to collaborate on this MOOC. Thank you once again for your patient listening, and see you in Module 6. Thank you.